and welcome to Awaken Your Human Design. My name is Moni. This is Danny. And today we are continuing our nodal transits as we've been watching these move through the sky. So on Monday morning, November 3rd, at around 5:21 a.m. Central Time, so that'd be 6:21 Eastern Time. And it's pretty neat. It's kind of like the scene change when you're like watching a play and like the scene goes dark and then the crew all dressed in black runs around and moves the furniture around. And then the scene is a little different and the characters are a little bit different. And so that's pretty much what happens when the nodes.
Well, we're moving from a process that had awareness. It was all about both mental and emotional awareness into one that is more about pressure and translation and answering the question, the pressure to answer the question, essentially. So that's the main shift. What would we see if we were looking at people? I'm not sure. What might we see, Moni? We might see suddenly people's thinking caps go on or not. And the pressure to have the thinking cap go on that turns the thinking cap off.
Yeah, or being in like a confusing environment. And you're like,
Yep.
how do I handle this confusing environment kind of thing?
Things might suddenly seem a little more confusing, as a way to get used to it. And when we read 64 line 6, you'll see why. Because that's what we move into. The nodes move backwards from the transits. They move clockwise and they go from 6 line down to 1. And one of our slides demonstrates that.
If you would like to book a reading with either Danny or myself, you can do so. You can click the QR code right above Danny. You can book a reading with either him or myself, and you can use code AWAKEN for an extra 10% off. If you have been getting a whole lot out of our human design teachings, and you've been learning a whole bunch, and you'd like to donate, you can check the QR code above, or the links are down in the description box below if you'd like to donate and help support the channel.
Yeah, help support the cause. We're really pouring out some good information. Pass along to your friends too. Let's make a community.
Thank you to everyone who is watching, liking, subscribing, hanging out, asking questions, doing the whole thing. We love having you, and let's get into it. We've gone through this before, but just for anyone who's new and hasn't seen it, we're going to give you some breakdown on the nodes, how they move, what they mean, and then we're going to get into the specifics of what we are in, what we're transiting into. So first off, we're going to talk about nodal position. And so this relates to the moon's elliptical relationship to the orbit of the Earth around the sun. So when you look at the nodes, this is a non-physical calculation, and they're positioned exactly opposite of one another.
The nodes that are positioned opposite one another, the north and the south node, literally sort of just like the personality consciousness crystal sits above the scalp. These sit a little bit outside the moon. And all of the neutrino information coming from the stellar background, there's a lot there, a lot. Think about it. In our little solar system, we've got a lot of information coming in on us, but if you think about it, it's a little speck. Our little solar system compared to when you go out there and it fans out, we've got galaxies and galaxies pouring in through each nodal environment. Most importantly will be whatever the background is for basically the astrology constellations will be some of the more important things that are pouring in, but it pours in through the nodes. And this gives us a trajectory. It's as if the outer universe's neutrino field is interested in us moving, and the inner solar system is interested in us being.
So next up, we're going to talk about the movement of the nodes and how they differ from how the sun and the earth and the planets typically move around the body graph. So typically, the sun and the earth move counterclockwise around the mandala wheel, and it takes a year for those to make a full rotation. If you compare that to the nodes move clockwise, and it takes 18 years to go fully around the entire mandala wheel. The nodes shift gates every 2 to 5 months, although this one is even like a month and a half. So
Yeah,
I didn't even know
this
they
is
can go
very
that
short.
fast. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a really quick one.
this is rare, and it will have to do with the placement of our moon and Earth relative to how we're actually either where the node's coming in from at that moment, whether we're going towards it, retrograding or not. If it's just straight on, they're somewhere between 3 months around the nodes. If there's any kind of retrograding with relation to the outer solar, movement or outer galactic movement is really what it is, then it'll take a little longer. If there's not the advancement, it'll go shorter. So this is quite a short one.
So just considering it, like you can kind of see it on our graphic here, where the nodes are going clockwise and the sun and earth are going counterclockwise. So they're kind of in this mixing bowl kind of action where it's all kind of, I almost imagine like a DNA double helix spiraling
Yep.
around us.
Yep, it's a mixing bowl. And there's lots of cool things to talk about with that mixing bowl. And we've already been talking about how this movements in the wheel mean a great deal. So this mixing does a great deal, especially when especially when the nodes coincide with the gate that's traversing at the same time in the transits. That becomes a unique mixing point in our evolution, of course.
Now, to explain the nodes and their purpose and role. So, the sun and the earth are the archetype of your role that you are here to play. The nodes set the stage, providing the background environment. The fulfillment of your purpose is done on a specific stage through a specific continuity of scenes. It is this setting of the stage that the nodes bring. So, it's the idea of like if you are on a stage play and the characters you meet, the set dressing, like that is all what's going on with the nodes. It's that environment, and so when the nodes shift, it's like it's a scene change, right? Like the curtain goes down for a second, the crew move everything around, and your environment and the characters you're going to meet is going to shift up.
And that shifting creates what we call movement. The notes represent our trajectory in life, this path we're going to take. And we talk about it all the time as it relates to what do you mean, my path, my movement, my this and that? It's, well, where are you? And 5 years ago, where were you? That's your movement. You've moved from this to that. You don't have to have changed houses or moved out of town, although it could be that as well. So this really, and when you read your nodes, there's several ways to read them that actually there are so many different ways to read the nodes, unlike the sun earths. The sun earths read sort of as a totality, what you should do with them, but nodes both read as a totality, and then they read with the two norths and the two souths, and then they read with the cross of life, which is just on the personality side, personality sun earth nodes. They read diagonally up and down to get the cognitive development on one side, the life's purpose path on the other. So they do a lot of stuff, and they just read from left to right. You can just read, oh, design is pushing and driving this movement towards this and this, So every time I read someone's nodes and you just start looking at them, you really see, but you need a bird's eye view to see it. At least it's helpful so that you can see it, because you have to see where you were to where you've gone. And then you're like, oh my God, that is my trajectory. Your trajectory determines everything, who you're going to bump into, who you're going to find, who's going to call you out. This trajectory that actually makes all the people that will be with you, the people that will be against you, the people that won't matter. It runs you into the people. It runs you through the scenes, just like a good three-part play, right? A three curtain call play. So that's what this is about.
And so here we have a quote from Ra Uru Hu, who is the founder and developer of the human design system, and how the nodes set the stage. To really understand your nodes is to recognize the world you are intended to deal with, the environment you're intended to deal with, the kind of people who are meant to be there in the background of your life, and the kind of forces that are there to provide you with exactly the right connections, the right interaction, the right education, and the right whatever, because they belong in your scene. You have the opportunity to fulfill your purpose. The potential to fulfill your purpose has to be seen against the background. It's in that background, it's in that environment that your purpose has to be achieved.
Yeah, what a great quote by Ra. It is in that environment, so you can't fight it. I have on my unconscious side, I have 16 and 9 in the second line. They got to get called out of me, period. My direction in life has to be something that sort of calls to me. That's something you can now know. So what were you doing, Dan? Well, I wasn't feeling called. Then your direction sucked. It's really that simple as it relates to calling things out. My 3420 is in my nodes on my personality side. So if I'm not sort of awareness becoming deed right now, my movement will go askew. So if I sit here and calculate every movement and write down my checklist and every last thing, and don't allow 3420 to simply be awareness in the now, a generator, right? The archetype of a generator and a manifesting generator, really, then hello, I'm going to lose track of where I'm supposed to be. So that's sort of what we're saying. You have to witness that these things move you. The moon drives you and creates a focus, but this stuff literally is the river that your little boat's floating on, and everyone else floating on the same river. That's part of it. That's part of it.
Now we're going to go over the nodes that we've been in since June 13th, and they'll be
Moni, one
shift.
more thing. And last thing, this is humanity's river because we're all on it. So it doesn't matter what your nodes are. Everyone else's nodes are on your trajectory and you're on everyone else's to a degree. It's all available. The nodes are here to make sure it's all potential, but you have to be yourself. And then suddenly these things will take that vast potential and narrow it down and squeeze it into the thing that's for you. So let's squeeze ourselves into the things that's for us, which is not two sizes smaller on a pair of jeans. It's just the right fit.
So now we're going to recap the nodal environment we've been in since June 13th. The north node has been in gate 22, which is grace and the gate of openness, while the south node has been in gate 47, which is oppression and the gate of realization. So gate 22 is very emotional and very individual and has a deep acoustic sensitivity. This has been a very live environment, both mundane and trivial. This is about behavior operating correctly in a mundane framework in the world for potential to mutate in that world. And having the grace and knowing how to be part of a deep mundane plane. With gate 47, this has been about mental conceptualization with tremendous constraints in the environment of external restrictive forces. And needing to have that background dealing with all these forces to deal with all these forces, yet at the same time be able to deal with them with grace.
Yeah, these two things go together. They make up the graceful aspect of the cross of rulership. This is the thing that tamed us down as it relates to rulership, moving into grace as it relates to moving from grace, actually.
Yep.
So this 22 that says I listen, it is meant for mundane applications because it's listening and people are mundane. It's meant for the smile that even invites, hey, how are you? Nice day, huh? Mundane, but it's not looking for mundane at the end of the day. It is looking for extraordinary. It's the manifesting aspect of the emotional wave that creates the right home for the spirit in gate 55. And it's about to articulate out the throat when it gets to gate 12. This stream of awareness, this stream of emoting has gate 22 very interested in where's all the love, the deep connected personal love, the love that showed up where 55 and 59 demand in the first place through forms of bond me to the right love. And rulership is a bond. So when the right love is in town, the right rulership takes place. I'm bound to that which I rule. And so it is the bond and the binding all together. And it's, just like the cross of planning would demand, it is the binding of the things that takes the mundane and creates the amazing, which is all part of the social design of this is the design of a social individual. Of the individual circuit's social channel is this channel of openness, right? 1222 is a channel of openness. And that channel of openness is waiting to be open because when it is, and gate 12 says, yes, I can, it's really, yes, I can. It's not mundane anymore. It's a big deal. It's a lot of stuff, and it can sit right back in its mundaneness. The grace to listen matters, and then the grace to figure out what you just heard matters. And that's what 47 is doing. It's coming up with all the concepts to temper and ease and or bring light to. And same thing with 22, emotional wave to bring clarity to the process that they actually have the same keynote, a design of reaching ultimately mental clarity. I'm pretty sure the channel of abstraction 6447 is a design to reach mental clarity or somehow it's something like that. Whereas on the other side, it's about mental activity mixed with ease because doubt comes and goes. But this stuff stays. This oppressiveness is supposed to not be really oppressive. It's supposed to sort of start there to keep you working on it. And then you suddenly realize stuff. Is that what it is?
Uh, Channel 6447 is a design of mental activity mixed with clarity.
Yep, clarity. So clarity's there. Dude, that's the emotional language. So these two things go together, the abstract of the collective with the individual uniqueness of that which is about to give emotional voice to the unique individual social way that carries with it the spirit and the bonds that the spirit has. This is a big deal, this gate, and it tempers all of rulership. So we just left the pleasant side of rulership. We're moving as we move into the next nodes, and we would have talked all about the things that you might want to listen to, the stuff to figure out in this time. Things are going to get figured out, but on Monday, a certain mental oppressiveness is going to leave you, and a certain confusion is going to show up over all of that. So that's this part.
So now we're just going to run through the nodal line process. So remember with the nodes, we go from line 6 down to line 1. Typically, we go from line 1 up to line 6, but for the nodes, it's opposite land. So with the nodal environment that we've been in since June, we've gone with the south node from gate 47, line 6, which is futility, which is where strength of will alone may find a way to adapt and survive, but without hope of ever overcoming the oppression. And then it's
That's
been,
funny.
yeah,
That's a
then we're,
lot.
it is a lot, I'm sure. We'll explain it in a second. And that has been then shifting down the lines into gate 47, line 1, which is taking stock, the ability in times of hardship of concentrating on eradicating the negative factors that have led to oppression.
This becomes an introspective process, and that becomes essentially where this is headed when we're reading the note in a nodal line. Its movement goes from 6 to 1, and it guarantees that. So it's funny, this where strength of will alone may not, right, and that's in the language, can adapt, barely survive, but without hope, forever overcoming the oppression, because 47 is collective. It's not supposed to be alone. Period. This has got to be shared. You got something going on with either 64 or 47, don't hold it in. You had a dream, share it. You got something that's really mentally bothering you, give it to somebody else. um, because it's meant to be shared. This futility is only futile while alone. And by the way, the other part of this is to adapt and survive, but without hope of ever overcoming. Guess what? It seems like there's never hope of any coming, but it's in the sixth line. It's transitioning, it's moving out. So the hope is it won't be here long. Basically, it's saying in communion with the other, shared properly in the right timing because it's projected, the futility gives way ultimately to a certain amount of hope that what becomes the role model when you're moving backwards, what becomes the idea of the movement is to get smart and take stock. And you end up with this whole movement having hope to get rid of the negative forces because you've taken stock and focused on moving the factors that were causing and led to the oppression in the first place. That's what this movement is supposed to do. That's what it did, actually.
So then continuing on with the north node, we've gone from gate 22, line 6, which is maturity, natural and evident leadership and authority. The possibility in social interaction will result in leadership capacity, down to 22, line 1, which is the second class ticket, ability and emotional awareness to accept and enjoy a subordinate position.
Yeah, well, 22 is moving into 63, so it becomes this place where 22 is leading to the capacity to identify with the logical process and come up with the thing that you think will work ultimately. The natural and evident leadership is because when you listen, you're given authority ultimately. It's hard to give authority to the dingbat that won't listen to anything. The one with grace ultimately gets empowered, and they can even manifest themselves into types of authority because rulership will do that. It will be the manifestation that they'll even be offered it. It's not like they have to conquer it. We're nine-centered beings. It's different. It gets offered. Part of when you get into the cross of rulership, it's got two of the three manifesting gates in the throat. If you don't count the 20, because that's a manifesting generator, but it's got the 45, and then this one is pointing at the 12. So they're both in those streams of manifestation there. So 22 moving from maturity down to that second class ticket sounds like an actual second class ticket. No, it's the capacity to recognize I'll stand up and let someone else sit there. I'll wait and let the other speak and say stuff. Now, if you have this gate in your body graph, you can get stuck listening and suddenly come up with all these things to help you stop listening. And I'm sure last time I would have pointed out, find out when you listen too much, and come up and start to recognize you have to sort of cut that and be like, hey, I don't need to hear anymore, or however that's going to come out, because they need to know. So this movement into what's called a second class ticket is really a deep emotional awareness to cradle the spirit prior to its manifestation in gate 12 of the throat. That's what this subordinate position is also doing. It's waiting to cradle the 55 and the 59, purpose fulfilled through bonding, spirit fulfilled through bonding. And it's waiting to cradle that and bring it emotionally forward to gate 12 for its final movement into action. So second class ticket might look like that, but they're eyeballing what's going to happen next, and they're on an emotional wave in a manifesting channel. So you can't quite call that an overall second class ticket, like just waiting to listen. But it's this intelligence, emotional intelligence, just be the listener first. The emotional listener. 13 is the total awareness listener overall as it relates to like the collective history of the world. They capture it as one of the gates of memory, and it literally sits there. But this is the emotional version of that. The emotional listener makes you happy when they are listening. 13 is like you need them to listen. I'm unloading. 22, you might unload on, but they're emotional. And it makes it so that I'm receiving some juice while they listen. Gate 13 can simply be the listening block as long as they have a pulse, and they're listening. Gate 22 has the emotional aspect to it. And what does it want to do in that stream of emoting? Love. Show me unique, individual, two-person love, two-thing love, me and something, or even group love. Anything that is going to be unique and individual and fill the spirit through bonding. A band of brothers, on a battlefield, deep, they're listening to each other. It's big time, and deep empowered manifesting love inside of all that, and their spirit is high in moments like that. So the whole idea of 22-1 is to have a second class ticket, recognize I'm gathering intel and I'm an emotional wave, and don't you think I'm not going to move. We're moving to the spirit or bust. It's to the spirit or bust with this guy.
So now we're going to get into the nodal environment that we're going to be in from November 3rd through December 22nd. The north node is 63, which is doubt after completion, and the south node is 64, which is confusion before completion. So here we're dealing with the collective pressures of the mind. They're both head center gates. The 63 is logical pressure, whereas the 64 is abstract pressure. This is a very powerful mental background, an intellectual stage steeped in thought. It's very much an intellectual process, yet it's very clearly a transition in life. We're moving from abstract confusion into logical doubt, and the characters in our life and around us are going to be suffering from confusion. It's a confusion environment nurturing the pressure to resolve what caused the confusion. What Gate 63 says, in the spiral of life, all ends are beginnings. And 64 says, transition like birth requires determined strength for the passage through. It's determined strength to move through the spiral. This is the magic of the nodes. They're wonderful. They set the stage. But more than just set the scenery, they fill the stage with the beings that are going to be part of that environment that nurtures your potential for purpose.
Just realize when you look at the wheel, what we're moving to, that this in its clockwise movement would be moving to 37 to 55 and then to 49 before it gets to 13 again and starts at the beginning again, essentially. So this is moving towards the spirit. So after 22's grace comes the mental activity, and this pressure, by the way, is all the questions. And the 63 is the logical doubt. It's paranoid, by the way, because it can always doubt something. 64 is confused. So it's not that it's paranoid, but it could be. It's just that it can't quite tell. It can't fix yet on the thing. Whereas the logical side is pressuring towards some things. It's got logic on its side. And it really gives the name for the keynote of this whole process. The logical collective circuitry is really given its keynotes in the lines of Gate 64 more than anything. And then 63, apologize, and Gate 63 more than anything. But the abstract side doesn't know what it's looking at. It's not an editor. It's not, all it does is it applies the pressure and creates the pressure zone to have the questions. So where 63, the logical side, who, what is that? Where, huh? What with who? Why is this? What the heck? And 64 has all those questions, but can't really fully focus in on one. It's gotta imagine all of them as a totality. And 64, because it's just the pressure to be confused first as an abstract process, looking backwards in time, trying to make sense of the past, the pressure to make sense of the past. That's part of consciousness. And the pressure to make sense moving into the future, to make determinations and logical observation moving into the future, it does know what the pressure is, essentially. That's why its process is mixed with mental ease, because it can sort of stop. But The other side, 64, is not mixed quite with mental ease. It's mixed with, it sort of stays on, the whole time. Maybe you're given a break from it once in a while, but together, 64 and 63 guarantee that we come to understand the deep reason that our joy wants to identify with a process, because the pressure up here wants to tell you what it thinks, and it wants to come up with something to think, and it wants to be the formula on the other side. And 64 doesn't necessarily want to be the oppression on the other side, but it does want that process to achieve clarity. So mental motion in business, and yes, anxiety, mental pressured anxiety mixed with mental clarity, ultimately is what 64 is looking to get to that. So at the end of the process of these two things, the 64 is pressured realization through the abstract putting together of a billion things from your past, because that's where they came from. The logical opinion, both need to be shared. And the opinion is, I think, and that's its voice, I think. And I think we got a new way to do things here. I think this is going to work. And share it and put the team on it and act like, NASA when Apollo 13 was in the air. That is gate 63 at its best. That is 63, 64, and 61 at its best, all of them together. The pressure to we got to identify what's it going to be, and the pressure to but there's so much stuff from the past. Let me draw from it. And then we need a decision, the pressure to know now, So it really was all of it. But we could have never done any of that. That movie would have no meaning if these gates were not in the world back. So obviously that movie would have never been made.
Now we're going to go through the nodal line process. Again, it goes from line 6 down to line 1. And so for the south node, we'll be going from 64 line 6, which is victory, the mental gift of enjoying the confusion and its diversity of data, down to 64 line 1, which is conditions, amongst the confusion, the difficulty in finding the point.
That's beautiful, because 64, as it moves down to this first line, it's basically saying that our movement here starts with the enjoyment. Why kill yourself? This is our past. And it says, we're going to go from that enjoyment to let's get it fixed in a foundational process. This nodal movement is always driving us towards a foundational process. I have great hope for this short month and a half that this nodal movement, because it moves quick, it's like a Yankee clipper. It's moving quick. And as it does that, the victory of the enjoyment can actually be realized and concretized amongst the difficulty in finding the point. But the thing is, it's about conditions amongst the difficulty in finding the point. These conditions are the victory helps set the stage for it. So this is going to be concretized in this beautiful movement through all 6 lines. That's going to show us what is the point. Then by the time we get to 64 line 1, we will have a pretty decent idea onto whether it's a what or a why or a how or a who. Unlike 63, when we get over there, it sort of already knows. It's got an idea. No, we need some what and some why here. I'll get to the how in a minute. You know what I mean? They got it in order, more so. 64 is like order schmorter, maybe. I don't know. No clarity. And there's pressure here. So I like this movement.
And then for the north node, we'll be going from 63 line 6, which is nostalgia. It's good sense to avoid turning previous struggle into an obsession, the logic of leaving old doubts behind. Down to 63 line 1, which is composure, acceptance of achievement, but doubt whether continued development will take place.
Yeah, this foundation where it's heading will doubt whether continued development will actually take place is such a logical process, because it's not Debbie Downer doubt. Because once the formula comes through, we're all identified and excited about it. It's the watchful eye doubt. Newton gave way to Einstein. Einstein has already given way to the quantum mechanics that are already going on, that he could only describe as spooky action at a distance. The logical process in the collective says, I don't care what it is, something can go wrong. So vigilance is here. And it's a totally different vigilance. These are the two vigilances that keep the consciousness train rolling. Because when you add in gate 35 and gate 5, what do you got in a right angle cross of consciousness? You have got yourself collective business, 2 of each, period. 2 of each, 35 and 5. two more collective gates, both one logical, understanding and one from the sensing abstract circuit. So it's mixed up perfectly amongst the sharing. Consciousness is sharing business. And 63 just wants to literally identify with that as it creates its pressure. By the way, that pressure is outside of you. The pressure comes in. This is emanating through your pineal gland. We're awash in a neutrino ocean. You're awash in the other. Everyone is around. There's a consciousness field on this planet. It's not all yours, even if you have it defined, is the thing. It's coming in, you're creating it, it's a combination. So we need this role model 6 line to say the good sense to avoid turning previous struggle into the obsession. Remember, when we go through it the other way and it's just the transits, the Sun Earth transits, this 63-6 transitions out. It moves into the family. Get rid of that old stuff, you're married now. Well, dinner's got to be ready at 6, and someone's got to plow the fields and do the stuff. So you can doubt all you want out there, dear. Just fire up those plows for the spring, thing. And so the good sense prior to creating family in 37, the good sense to avoid turning previous struggles into an obsession. This would go both ways. You used to date that girl and I don't like, yeah, not anymore. I married you. It's not an obsession anymore type thing. You got to let it go. This is the role model and the wisdom to transition into the letting go process. Talk about a consciousness making thing because it's shared. And in the sharing, others get shared with it. And soon their individual uniqueness starts to feel empowered. And then we commune. And then we move towards more beauty. And then suddenly the consciousness field rises and we recognize where we're headed. This whole thing is moving into the cross of planning as it relates to the nodal environment. And that's what I love about it. Everything dings the cross of planning the way I see it on this nodal movement, because on the other side of the cross of planning is back to the spirit. 55's on that other side, which puts 59, on by the 64. So the composure that accepts achievement but doubt is just such a logical process. And if you have this in your partner or in yourself, recognize they can't help that. It's not a 6-line process when they have a first line. It's a first line process. They're introspective, looking in. Let them doubt. Yeah, I know we got married, and I'm sure it's really good. Yeah, I'm most likely, I'm sure. But they'll have some doubt about all of it. And it creates paranoia if you let it run away with you. A true 63 will create paranoia. I doubt that. I doubt that. I doubt that. I doubt that. You're paranoid. You're paranoid for your material way. I doubt that stock. I doubt that tip. I doubt this job. I doubt all the things. I doubt that job's going to last. You're just going to have a miserable time until you realize that the 6 line is saying, let it go. And the first line is saying, accept that and accept the doubts that follow up, because the doubts are just like the watch guard. You still need a watch guard, right? You built the walls. You got everything you need. You still need guys on the wall. That's gate 63 and 63-1 most especially.
So here we can see the shift in the nodes with our body graph. November 3rd, which is a Monday morning at 5:21 a.m. Central, so 6:21 Eastern time, and do your time zones accordingly. But we can see how the nodes shift from 5:21 to 5:22 a.m., where the nodes are in 22.1 and 47.1, and then they will switch over to 63.6 and 64.6.
Yeah, I really hope this community grows so we get more and more eyeballs on this so we can everyone bring their measurements of what they experienced in and we can gather it, because we really want to see what happens during the shifting of the nodes, because the nodes are around for so long. You're supposed to be able to see it in the population. You go out and you be someplace or you be with yourself very present, waiting for the TikTok to go by and just see if you can feel sort of the difference. I'm going to feel an emotional manifesting generated energy leave because I have gate 12, line 4. So while it's in line 1, it's a wicked harmony to my gate 12, line 4. So I have emotional connection right now. I guess I'm emotional. Who knew? That's funny. And from here, it's going to move into the sleeping phoenix, which I find really cool. Can't wait to do that one. The nodes are moving into the sleeping phoenix before we move into the cross of the phoenix. Yeah, sometime in the 12 months immediately preceding, we're going to have phoenix. Yeah, and basically that starts out the 1-year countdown. Because if this ends in November and then that does happen until, yeah, that's going to mark close enough to the 1 year countdown to 2027. Pretty close.
Yeah, so basically after December 22nd, then we're going into the 37 and 40, and then we'll go into the 55, 59. So I said May 13th through July 24th.
So I would like to read all of these transits, I mean, this nodal movement as it relates to the coming mutation and the movement out of the greater global cycle into the cross of the sleeping phoenix, just in general. So I think I'm always going to mention it from here on out because we're sliding into home base with all of that. So our consciousness here, this cross of consciousness that brings a steady pattern and the progress of it shared so everyone else can know too. That's when it's really in the world. It's common knowledge. Common knowledge and consciousness are really close to the same thing. They certainly support each other. And so this is a time to let old doubts settle themselves out, period. Clean them out like your house. To let the things that pressure you to know and finish the knowing through the juicy abstract process that is actually fun if you let it, start to let it be fun. It's not supposed to be oppressive. Find some grounding so you got some footing on all of this so you can know to just let it be. It's about to assuage itself and it's going to move through really quickly. It's going to move through quickly. It's going to move into the family. It's going to move into this logical process again. Family has a logical process. Go figure. I mean, literally. And let it be that because the spirit comes next. This is our chance prior to the great change to start to recognize if ever there was a cross that says let's recognize this together, it would be this all for one for all type thing because it's all collective. It's every last bit of this has to be shared. So in this nodal movement, 22 would move to 37, 40. It would be the cross of planet. This is all right angle, folks. So just to point that out. So this stays in this cross of consciousness. It's all about that. And the movement it's asking for is to say, as we look forward, start to realize we're supposed to have clarity and ease. Please, consciousness field, raise yourself up and give humanity more clarity and more ease, more mental ease, less mental dysfunction. This is a time to potentially break through certain mental dysfunctions. We spend all that time listening and going through an abstract process. Please notice a definition is made here. We've made a definition here, right? Because we just left the 47 and then we move into the 64. So the channel of abstraction and the prime channel for dreaming. Gate 64 is the primary dreaming gate. You know, we get to dream. Basically, we can make peace with the mental pressure business.
Tying it all together, that is how the nodes are moving from the 2247 into the 6364. So again, this is Monday morning, November 3rd at 5:21 Central Time. So adjust to your time zone accordingly. But if you're awake at that time, it's kind of a neat thing to just pause, take a minute and see what it kind of feels like. I find it seems like everything kind of slows down, it kind of calms down, and it kind of feels like if you're in an old movie theater when they still had like film projectors, when the one film reel runs out and then the guy's got to like pull it off before they put the new one on and then it starts up again. That's what I kind of sense that it feels like. And you can notice some things. It kind of gets quieter. You know, people get quieter, cars even, like there's less cars around, that kind of stuff. It's kind of neat. It's kind of like a scene change in a play.
Yeah, well, we're moving from what would be more weighted towards a unique individual process, you know, where we were, the 47 will serve the 22 and where we came from, but these are both collective, you know, so there's going to be a need to share mental pressure with others. So share it. Don't be afraid of it. This is a time to discuss ideas and come up with little formulas and to start these conversations out. And you know, follow your strategy and authority. If you're a generator, you'll recognize the timing to respond to all of that, right? If you're a projector, you'll recognize that it's all there for you or not. You're being recognized and on and on. But as long as you do that, let the fanciful, beautiful toy box come alive. It is ultimately what is the head center doing? It's designed to translate existence, the pressure to translate our own existence. That is consciousness, folks, as long as we share it. And if we don't, consciousness dies in a vacuum in the dark. So please don't let it die in the dark. Share your stuff while this is going on. Let it be a habit of yours to sort of share. You know what else will happen? You'll find out who doesn't want you sharing with them. And those people aren't really right for you to have in your closest innerest circles. So lots of, because it's mental business and we sort of have access to the mental business, there'll be lots of mental business as it relates to measuring who belongs in and who belongs out. As long as you follow your strategy and authority, of course. Confusion seems oppressive, and it, by the way, don't be surprised when you feel a little bit of mental anxiety. However, since we're moving into line 6 of 64, that victory is like you sort of enjoy that. So notice you'll be struck with a little confusion that it's not the worst thing. Suddenly you'll have fanciful ideas. 64 leads to the ideas and doubts. Doubt's a whole activity that leads to a little bit of mental ease because the formula picked it up, sent it down the line. The pressure can now move on to a new doubt because that's what they're after. 64 wants to go over all the various possible confusions, and 63 is like, no, I got this doubt, and then in order, the next doubt will come as soon as I can get rid of this one. So recognize, don't move through your doubts too quickly, but allow your confusions to like explode and mushroom into these fanciful ideas. They will feed the logical process as it relates. The abstract fills in for what the logical process needs as its history anyways. It's not logical if it doesn't track its history, and the confusion guarantees that through a story, through an idea, through teaching, ultimately. And 63 concretizes that teaching into something logical in a textbook. So make some textbooks while you're at it, write something down, start your journal. You got a memoir? Go ahead and start writing. You'll see something take place maybe. This is for writers. This time is for writers, I would say.
Yeah, I like that it's going from abstract confusion into logical doubt, and that being in this confusing environment is nurturing the pressure to resolve what is causing the confusion.
Right.
And so even though there's confusion, then it's like it's the beginning point to understanding like why is there this confusion? What is causing this in order to like make it through and like learn from it, right? This like spiral of life, all ends are beginnings. And the transition, like birth, requires determined strength for the passage through. So it's about having determined strength to move through the confusion and into the doubt. And it might be a little weird, but just roll with it. And it's only like 6 weeks or so. So it might be a kind of funny time, but it's also going to be moving really quickly through the line. So it'll be an interesting to one to kind of pay attention to if you're a nerd like us and you're actually going to like watch the lines go down. It might be kind of a neat process to I don't know, just allow it's going to be a mental busy kind of intellectual background,
Yeah, let
which
it be. Let it be. Get dust
yeah.
them books off your bookshelf.
Yeah, and also it's like I have a completely open head and an undefined ajna where it's just I've been going through a lot where it's like I'm not going to be the one who figures everything out with my undefined head and ajna. It can be really maddening and it can kind of spin in my wheels over and over and over that gate 24. It's a fun one. And
Mm,
trying to just let it go of like I'm not going to have all the answers and these don't even matter. It's just like whatever down the rabbit hole stuff that doesn't really matter generally. And so I'm going to use this as kind of an opportunity to allow it to be a mental background, allow it to be confusing, and I'm not the one that has to figure it all out. It's not on me. It's just going to be a process that's happening, and maybe I'll get through the confusion and through the doubt and this that whatever, but it's not my pressure to be the one who has to deal with it, if that makes sense.
yeah, and these two gates are as far away from anything like basically manifested or specially generated as you can get. These are very much projected gates, like right across the board, and you can tell. So that's why I said before, start sharing. Share the fanciful things that come through because logic is delightful. The logical process is delightful if the doubt is something that can reach a formula and then turn into the actual openness. This whole capacity of 63 to get to gate 4 and create this formula is the same acceptance process as the name of the channel for 17 and 63 with all the details. That is the channel of acceptance. So they both end up having to accept each other and just realize everything in that stream is looking to create the formula that when expressed has the details to excite the process of repetition, understanding, communicating that understanding, identifying with a thing, and the joy that comes with something that repeats. So all of this stuff is available to you while 63 and this cross of consciousness is transiting these nodes for 6 weeks. Literally meditate some. Meditate on this some, or however you meditate. I tend to meditate while I'm in movement or something, but meditate and just allow yourself to take in confusion and doubt as a process that's fun and fanciful and does actually lead to victory, and it does lead to composure, and it does actually get rid of the things that aren't needed, and it does actually end up putting the confusion in its place where it's supposed to be, which is not front and center in your life in any kind of way that makes you make a decision. It's just mental business. Great time to see that. Is just, if ever you're going to notice mental business is separate from your inner authority and your body's workings, this would be a great time for that.
Yeah, it's just running in the background.
Yep.
It's just a
Yeah.
confusing,
Yeah,
doubtful background frequency that's going to be in our environment. Maybe give yourself a little time if you're traveling. Be careful on the road because other people are also going to be
you might
confused.
start
So,
daydreaming a little, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what these two gates will do. I have both these gates in my body graph. So they're just going to land again upon me, and I'm going to feel the nodes moving through the lines. So that'll be interesting. I won't notice the 64 until it gets to the third line because my line is 6. It's
Mm.
unconscious. Can't wait.
Yay, we're going to be in it for like 6 weeks. So check it out. Monday morning, November 3rd through December 22nd. See how that feels. Follow along. It's a neat thing to kind of watch. It's like this, like I really love the life as a stage play kind of analogy, and that it's the scene change. And we just have these regular scene changes. So we're going into one of those, and then we'll see what the next one brings at the end of December, right before Christmas. We'll do another one.
Merry Christmas, everyone. We will move into the family, right? That's what we're doing.
Uh-huh.
So,
Well, that'll
all
be
righty.
perfect. That'll be great for the holidays.
Yeah,
So
really. Perfect.
if you'd like to book a reading with Danny or myself, check out
I'm having
that
fun with
QR
my finger
code.
here.
We also have the link down in the description below, and be sure to use code AWAKEN for 10% off of your reading. We can get into your chart, we can nerd out, we can have some fun. And also, if you would like to donate to our channel, if you've been getting a lot out of this, if you've been learning a whole lot and you'd like to throw a little bit our way to help support us and encourage us, then you can do that at the other QR code right above Danny. The link is also in the description box below. So thank you
Right
for
up
that.
here.
Right up there. So thank you.
Absolutely. Pitch in if
Thank
you can. We really do need the help. So pitch in if you can. This will be great and will keep us going.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you to everyone who is watching, liking, subscribing, commenting, asking us questions. It really helps us out. We're a little wee baby channel, but we're doing it. And so thanks for being here with us, and we will catch you next time.
Much love, everybody. Till the next time.